sober a little over 4 years ago. You can also get daily notifications to help keep you on track and give you a little motivation, help keep you headed in the right direction. So you can get the app. You can go to iamsoberapp.com and you can find it there. That's their website. You can also go to thatsoberguy.com. On the right-hand side, there's a couple of links there. You can download it at the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store. Go there. Check out the I Am Sober app today. All right. Our guest today is Joelle Jacobson. And Joelle is a neurofeedback clinician at the Betty Ford Center in Los Angeles. And she's also a highly sought-after addiction specialist. And she's been working in the mental health field for over 20 years as a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice, and a school counselor, and also working with substance use disorder and eating disorders. So, Joelle, I feel like we already had a little pre-discussion before we started recording right now. I know there's a lot more to your bio, and there's a lot we want to get into today. So I'm going to turn it over to you, have you tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then let's jump right into this thing.
Okay. Thank you, Shane. I'm so grateful to be on the show and looking forward to our conversation. So I work for Hazelden Betty Ford. I specifically work at the Betty Ford West LA outpatient program. And luckily, we are in network with every major insurance carrier. So, and we will be talking a lot about insurance in this on this call. But but we are an ethical program, and I am grateful to be part of it. And we have doctorate and master level people working at the outpatient program, which is different from other programs. We also have a nurse at our program as well. There is medication assisted treatment in answer to the opioid epidemic. And that's kind of, we don't have to talk about me. Let's talk about helping people.
No, that's good. That's good. I want to, we're kind of getting to know each other a bit. I think it's important to talk about the work you do too. I mean, obviously there's something that, before we get into that, there's something that brought you into this field, whether it's just a desire to help other people. Is it, something personal in, with a family member or a friend or something? I mean, what really got you interested in helping other people through therapy, whether it's in marriages, in schools, or people with substance abuse or eating disorders?
I've always been interested in helping people in the addiction field and the eating disorder field. I had a lot of experience with that with different people in my life growing up and in my adult life as well. And I just wanted to be more a part of the solution, which is when I started my practice and my company, Teen Talk Line. I really saw a need for young females that needed support and direction and just a sounding board. And then when I got more involved in the treatment field, I was so fortunate to have connected with Hazelden Betty Ford, because I know that what we do is saving lives on an ethical level. And we are also very involved with advocacy, which is extremely important, especially right now with all of the unscrupulous behavior that's going on in our industry. Of course, we have the history of Betty Ford and her initially coming out and bringing awareness to breast cancer and encouraging females, or really everyone, to get mammograms, because breast cancer can happen to males as well. And then she went on, and she was even more brave and courageous to come out and discuss her alcoholism and issues. And then she opened up Betty Ford in the 80s. And it's interesting because when she was looking to open Betty Ford, she actually went to Hazelden to look at their program and their model and what they were doing. And a lot of what she implemented at her program was from Hazelden. And now, past 4 years, they married, and we are now Betty Ford. So it's a great story. But I am blessed to be a part of the organization.
Yeah, she, Betty Ford, she was really one of the first females to really come out, right, in the public and on such a large platform and well-known woman that she was, being a first lady, and say, like, I have a problem with alcohol, and own it, right, and kind of step up to the plate and say, like, I know there's more of you ladies out there that are struggling with this, and it's okay. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. And especially, with females, yes. And then even people in the public eye, high profile people who need to, have their public face on at all times, and, but they're, slowly falling apart. And so that also gave people the hope that they could get help as well.
Yeah.
If First Lady could do it, then anyone can come out and get help and survive it, if you will, or pursue treatment. So no, she's incredible woman, a true pioneer in the industry.
What about you? You mentioned, and I read too, in some of the info, I was reading up on some of the work that you've done, the Teen Talk Line. Are you still operating that? And whether yes or no, can you just tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yes. So when I was working, I worked on and off as an academic and personal counselor at an all-girls school. And what I was finding is that they were so busy with their after-school activities and building their college resume with SAT prep and with their extracurriculars, that they really didn't have time to go to a therapist. And when they did have the time, it was 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I decided to, along with my regular private practice, I decided to build an adolescent arm called Teen Talk Line, which would allow adolescents to speak to me via telehealth, which is video conference. And so I could be, on the phone with them on a HIPAA compliant video program with them when it was convenient for them, so they wouldn't miss out on getting support. But also with Teen Talk Line on my website, I have a lot of resources for people that aren't in the area, because I'm licensed in California, so I can't speak to people, even though it's online, if you will. I still can't speak to someone who's not in California. So I also set up the website so people could get help and information, and
I see.
I never saw them at all.
So that way they would have a resource, in other words, to go to the website to pull info, but you just, legally you can't talk to them, but there's still a resource there for them.
Right. So there are PDF files on,
Got it.
Do I have a drinking problem? Or what are the signs of an eating disorder, or discussing self-injury, signs of child abuse, if there's really sexual abuse, rather, for parents, is my child in trouble? So different things like that, and there are documentary links, there are book suggestions. So it's a great resource, the site.
What's the site, by the way?
It's teentalkline.org.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Teentalkline.org. All right. We'll put that in the show notes too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then just on another note, which is similar, if hazeldenbettyford.org is the site of the organization, and they also have an education section where, when people are contemplating, they're still in the first stage of the stages of change, there is a lot of information for people that are looking for help, and there is even assessments they can take online to see if they really do need help. There are articles, there are webinars, which I love, because everyone is ready and they still need to kind of research. So that's kind of what, So similar to that, just really getting the word out there, getting people the right resources that will help them, not hurt them. And so that's the goal. So when I was able to connect with Betty Ford, our value system was very much in line, and that's why I feel very part of it. Yeah.
Well, it's good. It's good to know that there's, good people out there like you that are actually fighting for good, because you've already alluded to it. I've had, many conversations with many different people within the recovery community and the recovery industry as a whole about all the bullshit that's going on right now, and how dirty some of the things that are going on really are. And that's one of the things to kind of transition our conversation here into this. That's some of the stuff we're going to talk about also today: internet scams, rehabs that are not legitimate, and how we can kind of navigate through some of those. What are some of the steps we can take to, be cautious and be aware and find the good spots and not the bad ones. So, I guess What are some of the things to kind of blanket it, just to set this thing off? What are some of the main things that you're seeing right now that are, main problems within the recovery community or the recovery industry?
I mean, how much time do we have? No, I'm kidding.
I know we could sit and go for days, I'm sure.
Right. But in all fairness, there are many, many incredible people in this industry doing the right thing, just working tirelessly to save lives. And so I want to acknowledge those people, even though we're going to go to the dark side soon. I just, I don't want people to think that this is all unscrupulous behavior, because it isn't.
Joelle, thank you for doing my job for me right there, because I totally failed on that, and I should have said that beforehand too. So thank you. No, really, because you're so right. Like, I've met so many great, like, phenomenal people, and I would say I've definitely met more good people than shitty people.
Right.
And,
selfless people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that being said, not everyone is like that. And there are people, unfortunately, out there that are preying on this vulnerable population. And so it's really important that, especially parents, understand what they're getting involved in when they make a phone call. And young people, newcomers that are at meetings, that are approached by other people in recovery, when they're offered a free sober living, what does that mean? And really, is anything free in life, right? Is anything free in life?
I think there's always a cost to something.
I don't know. Exactly. Yeah. So when it's too good to be true, it usually is. And so it's important for people just to have their antennas up. What's going on? And this happens to us at the West LA program. People will come in and they're in our program and they're in a sober living, and they're either told by the sober living owner that they need to leave our program and go to the IOP that they're partnered with, or they will get kicked out of their sober living, or they will, as I mentioned before, they'll be at an AA meeting or an NA meeting or a recovery aid meeting, and they're told, leave Betty Ford, come to my sober living and our IOP, and the sober living will be free. We just will bill your insurance. There will be nothing out of pocket for you. But what they don't mention is that when their insurance benefits run out, they will be kicked out of the sober living, because the intensive outpatient programs pay the sober livings anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 per bed.
Oh, wow.
And that's the insurance money that they're getting from what they're billing from the patient. So when the insurance runs out, they are not going to pay the sober living owner, because they're not making any money. So they're making money off of their insurance for the actual program. They're making money off of the drug tests. And so So what will happen is, someone will say, well, this person guaranteed me this IOP guaranteed me, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you cannot ever guarantee a length of stay. If you're going through insurance, no treatment owner can guarantee a length of stay. The insurance companies control that completely. So when it's time for the review of the patient, then the counselor will do something called the utilization review. They'll send it into the insurance company saying, we really think this person should stay. And the insurance company decides. And if they decide the person shouldn't stay, then they leave. So is that, and I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but I just want to clarify this. Is that a red flag right there? Is kind of what you're saying, is that if someone comes, and this is really for those out there listening right now, if you get somebody coming up to you saying, hey, I can guarantee you, 30 days or 60 days or a week or two, however long it is, red flag.
Red flag for sure. Like, do some due diligence and look into that shit. Like, don't just go jump head first in.
Absolutely. So you cannot ever guarantee a length of stay. That is a lie. There are treatment centers who will actually guarantee a length of stay, fly the patient out there to wherever their treatment center is, and now they've been discharged within 5 days. They're on the street in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that place just got paid a lump sum of money by the insurance.
Exactly.
Wow.
And, so it's really important to know who you're getting the referrals from. The internet is not the place. It's important to get a referral from a friend or a friend of a friend, but someone that is an ethical person.
Yeah.
There was that whole issue with Google. Now no longer, they're now monitoring the Google ads, and other search engines are doing the same thing because it started to get extremely expensive for PPC, for pay per click, for the treatment centers to place ads. So it was anywhere between $70 and $100 per click.
Wow.
And that's kind of another way that treatment centers or sober livings or whichever treatment provider would get customers, because the unethical treatment centers or programs, they're not looking at the people that are dying. They're not looking at them as human beings. They're looking at them as customers. They're looking at them as number signs.
Yeah.
And they don't care what happens to them at all. So when you have a patient broker, for example, someone who has been paid by a treatment center or whatever entity that is involved in treatment to go and get clients for them, and they're asked to go to, the homeless population and offer them to buy them insurance and to get them to the treatment program, they know full well that homeless person is going to be discharged anywhere between, 5 to 20 days. And they're going to be discharged back to the street where they're going to relapse. There's no discharge plan. And they'll find that person again and bring them back to treatment to charge their insurance again. And it's cyclic.
How many times can they do that? How many times can they get away with that before, somebody raises question about it? I mean, are we talking like 2, 3, 4 times, or are we talking 10 plus? Okay. And one time is too many, just to clarify, but I'm just curious, like how many times does this shit actually happen?
Well, okay. So here's it's a great question. So what happens is the person who is, guaranteed that length of stay or that treatment is free, what happens is they will go to a treatment center thinking they're going there for residential or inpatient, but they may move through those levels of care faster than any other treatment center would ever move them through these levels of care.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, as we were talking about before, that the insurance company will step you down as soon as they can. And so the minute the patient is stepped down, then they're going to lose the insurance money, right? So they keep the person in, using up all of their benefits, all of the levels of care.
Wow.
So then they discharge thinking they were just in residential, not realizing that the organization has used all of their benefits. They've used residential and inpatient. They've also used day treatment. They've also used, or PHP, partial hospitalization, or they've also used their intensive outpatient. They've also used their continuing care. And so then when they discharge thinking they're going home, they're going to go to an IOP, they have no more benefits.
Man, that is crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the other red flags to look for?
Well, so really, again, a huge red flag is free. Nothing's free. Mm-hmm. Another red flag would be if you call a sober living and you ask if they take insurance and they say yes. Sober livings do not take insurance. Treatment does not happen there ever.
I see.
So that's another red flag. So if they say they take insurance, then that means that they're connected to an intensive outpatient program who is paying them.
Oh, I see.
Per bed. Another red flag would be if they're offering to fly you out, if they're offering you money to come to their program, which you never want to give someone money who is contemplating recovery or someone new in recovery. You never give someone money in that situation. You may as well give them a loaded gun.
It's so crazy that actually works though too, that like, here's some money. I want to help you so bad. I'm going to give you money to come, and it's a jacked up situation either way.
Right.
But it's just crazy to me that there are people out there willing to go to that length to commit this fraud, basically, and not only that, then you kind of attach it to the point you already made about, are you not looking at these people? Well, obviously they're not, but how do you not look at these people as human beings? Like, these people are sick. They've many of them have, terrible histories, abuse, not just substance abuse, but all types of other things. And I heard the term before a while back, heads in beds. And that one always stuck with me, and it just like irritated me. I hated it.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. And, so what happens is the person that wants to get people into their program will pay someone the referral fee to get a head in a bed. Right. And so that can be anywhere from, $100 to $7,000. I was offered $5,000 for a referral.
Wow.
And at first I thought, what is this guy talking about? We refer back and forth to each other. Why would he want to pay me? And
Man.
Second, because I couldn't, I was so taken aback, because just what we do in our industry is we refer back and forth to one another. And if we don't know the referral, we will find the referral. We're not getting paid for that. We don't, especially, for in our organization, the people who are in outreach, no one gets commission for getting someone into their program. That's just, this is not a, we're
not selling cars here. All right. Like, come on.
Exactly. No. But there are, this is a $35 billion industry. So where there's money, there are going to be people who are unethical and who are opportunists and who don't look at human beings as human beings, and they look at them as numbers. As I said before, dollar signs. They're not mothers and fathers and sons and daughters, sisters, brothers. I mean, they're not. They're just a number.
Yeah.
And so, and I think, in the past 15 years or so, the opioid epidemic is now at astronomical proportions, which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so the venture capitalists see the dollar signs. Okay, things are just getting worse with this epidemic. We can capitalize on this. And so now you have these venture capitalists opening up these treatment centers. They have no clinical background. They know nothing of recovery. There's no personal attachment to the field whatsoever. And they're just making money off of people. They are, and also the consumer doesn't understand the difference between in-network and out-of-network. So when programs have on their website, we take insurance, people may assume, oh, okay, well, this will be covered by my insurance. I met my deductible. I'm good to go. But there's a very big difference. There is a cost. And if they say you owe nothing up front, we're just going to charge your insurance, they're going to get billed at the end. The
person's going to get billed.
They will get a bill. Yes. So that's another red flag. Again, nothing's free.
So let me ask you this real quick. I just answered 2 separate emails yesterday, and I get these all the time. And I also, face to face come in contact. We had a good friend of mine, a relative of his, situation, same thing, on the street, no insurance, nowhere to go, wants to get help. Every time tries to go get help, there's nowhere to go. There's either, the shelter's full, the beds are full.
Right.
And so, now she's back out on the street and she wants help, but she can't find it anywhere. So she relapses again. And it's just this repetitive cycle. I'm sure you see it all the time. And that it is, and it's heartbreaking. And like the email I got yesterday was kind of a similar thing. Like, I want help. My daughter's struggling really bad too, and we don't have a lot of money. We don't know what to do. Like, where do we go? And I have resources locally here, that I know about. And then I always recommend any of the 12-step programs or Celebrate Recovery. Try to find places in their area through the county or through the city. There's a lot of different programs, but, what do you tell people? What are some options that folks can look for if they're in that certain situation?
Yeah, it is a very real problem, because when someone's ready, they need to go then.
Yeah,
they can't be on a 2-week waiting list, because by the time they're up for that waiting list, they're no longer ready to go.
Yep.
That's one thing. But we do work with a lot of different county programs. We work with programs that take Medis, but it's really the people that have no insurance at all that I wish I had an answer for you on that. But I think that's where the issue comes up, that if I can get treatment and it's free, or supposedly free, that's how, they unfortunately get themselves into a dangerous situation, because, there are some places where, you enter the program and you do get treatment, you get discharged, but you do get treatment and, temporarily, and it's not a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then there are places where they're doing the same thing, and it is truly dangerous, where you have a free bed, but everyone's using.
Yeah.
But they're not kicking anyone out because they need the insurance money. They need the bed money. So there needs to be more services out there, more programs opening. So there isn't that 2-week waiting list at the county facilities. That absolutely needs to happen. And I don't know if it's going to happen with this administration. But
where do you come in and start talking about personal responsibility, though, with each individual person being an advocate for themselves? And obviously everybody's situation is different. Some people are so sick that they just can't do that. Others, and I think that's where you kind of get in that sticky mess of, we mentioned this when we started talking, is it a choice or is it a disease? And I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Everyone has different opinions on everything, but I guess back to my original point, like about being a self-advocate and looking out for ourselves and going into these situations, like where does the personal responsibility aspect come in for you? Like, what's your take on that?
Well, there over 60% of people that suffer from substance use disorder have experienced trauma. Mm-hmm. And, depending on the level of trauma, depending on, the developmental stage that you were in, depending on the support that you have, just whether it's your family or friends, it's easy for some people to say, we were talking about this before, like, oh, just stop drinking.
Just quit.
Like, get over it. It was 10 years ago. Like, okay, he's in jail now. He can't hurt you. But you can't unsee, you can't erase what happened to you. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of, escaping that for a moment or more, you can understand. But there is, if you don't have the introspection, if you don't have the courage to look at your situation and say, you know what, I don't want this to be my story. I want to change my story. I want a new story for myself. And I was assaulted, I was abused, or I lived through a traumatic event. So looking at that as, you know what, I lived through it. I'm a survivor. I'm not the victim. I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
So looking at yourself like a survivor and, half glass, glasses half full, right, instead of half empty, then I think for those people, it's easier to choose recovery. Mm-hmm. And again, with a support system. Yeah.
The support system is absolutely,
it's everything.
Crucial. I mean, I know I could not stay sober and not even, it's not even so much too about just not using drugs or drinking. I could not be in the state of mind that I have without, my family, my friends, my recovery group, like surrounded by good people. So, I mean, I know how crucial that is. And for folks out there who don't have that, man, their chances of them succeeding without that is really slim.
And unfortunately that's true. A lot of people, especially families, think that, all right, well, my loved one's going to treatment, they're going to come out and they'll be all better. Yeah. They'll be right. Yeah. And so, we have a family program at Hazelden Betty Ford at all of our different locations to kind of explain all of that and just, education and about the disease of addiction. But with families and loved ones that aren't educated and don't get it, then they're not super understanding and supportive and empathetic to what the person's going through when they discharge, because they don't understand why they're not better.
Yeah.
And so it is important for families. This is a family disease. So it's important for families and loved ones to be be as supportive for that person as they would be if that person had cancer.
Yeah.
Because, this is a disease that remits and relapses. And, they wouldn't shun someone that had cancer. They shouldn't shun someone that has substance use disorder. But as far as, building a strong community, especially for young people, there is an organization called Young People in Recovery. It's youngpeopleinrecovery.org. And they have chapter meetings everywhere. So that's another way, aside from, your recovery aid group that you go to, whether it's AA or Celebrate or Smart Recovery, that's another avenue. So it's to find out what's going on in the area and just connect with people your age. Because as a young person, you're 16 and now you can't have, a drink or another drug for the, rest of your life. That's quite daunting.
Yeah.
And, at the party and in college and everyone's partying around you and you can't do that. So with the opioids being so prevalent in that age group, it's even more important for them to be, connected.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so easy to get too. The pills, they're so easy to get, especially for the youngsters out there. And then, you want to get into, if we went into the whole media type of, environment of the music, the movies, the media culture that is portrayed on the youngsters, and not all of it's bad, but there's a good portion of it that portrays this lifestyle of popping pills and drinking and partying and sex with random people and all those things that don't really make up for a good life. When we're glamorizing those things, I mean, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground when I was 16, let alone even 25. And I actually still think I'm kind of close from not knowing it at 36. But, it's a crazy game out there. And if you don't have, the support around you and you don't have some resources around you, man, life can be a tough thing, especially when you're an addict,
No, for sure. I mean, and you bring up a really good point with the music. Rap music has changed a lot, and it's kind of upping the ante, if you will, with the lyrics and the songs and the graphic content about drug use, and even with the videos. I mean, if you're watching the Bad and Bougie video, he's like cooking up crack and you're thinking, that's good. So that's not great for a child to watch, and it's also showing them how to do it, and so
it's almost like there's a designed plan to infiltrate the youth, to dumb them down and make it seem like that's the normal way, that's the cool way, the normal way to live, to live your life. That is going to give you purpose. It's going to make you, and mind you, I mean, I know a lot of kids out there don't have good role models. I mean, the father figure in society today is, and the mother, of course, but I'm just speaking from a father's perspective, is so crucial to have a man in the house, that role, who can teach a child, whether it's his son or his daughter, values on life. And a lot of these kids, especially young men out there, don't have that father figure. And what do they see? They see these dipshits, cooking up crack in a video, trying to act like that's the cool way to live. Like, that is not cool. Like, that is going to get you locked up, dead, or, if it doesn't happen, it's going to happen sooner or later, basically. And so, I don't know where I'm going with that, because I start getting pissed off about it as I start talking about it. But
no, I mean, it's true, unfortunately. And, like even DJ Khaled, he has, every morning he posts that he's drinking Ciroc for breakfast. What is that? He's kind of, mainstream a little bit, but then he's with all the other more hardcore rappers. Yeah. So, and he's sitting there with his child, who's, completely dressed and supreme. And, and that's a whole other conversation with all of those clothes and how outrageous the prices are with, Supreme and Bape and V-Lone and just insane. So, so that's the other thing. So, there is a whole culture of glamorizing alcohol and other drugs, and also, glamorizing just the superficial.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, you're right on point. And I was going to say, as you were saying that, vanity does not make you worthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what makes you worthy is being a good person, is being a good man, being a good woman, being a good son, being a good father, a good daughter, whatever that is. That's what makes you a good person. It's not all of this stuff. That's why I say it's stuff. People think stuff can.
Exactly.
I had someone tell me a while back, and I think I was talking to Jacoby about this from Papa Roach on one of the old episodes. I haven't even thought about this for a while, but someone had once told me that a man's soul, or a person's soul, man, woman, doesn't matter, is so large that there's nothing that can fulfill that soul except the Spirit of God. So, and whatever your God is, I'm not, I have my own beliefs in that. Everyone is free and, open to have their own beliefs on whatever your God is, but whatever spiritual higher power is that fulfills you, like that is the only thing, finding that will ever truly make me happy. You know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about you were mentioning the clothes and the cars and all, whatever, like that is just shit. It does not matter. It's irrelevant in the end, because when I die, I'm not taking any of that shit with me. And I'm sorry to go off on my little soapbox there. I just got fired up for a minute, Joelle.
Yeah, no. But you're right. I mean, all the YouTube influencers like Rice Gum and Blake Linder and all those guys, I mean, they have a massive, massive following. And with that following, instead of talking about, the Air Mags or, the Off-White that just dropped or whatever, then they can talk about, something that is actually will help their audience.
Yeah.
The audience, it's tweens and teens. But actually, the other day, Blake Linder said something really beautiful about Thanksgiving, and he was thanking his parents, and he volunteers at the homeless shelter down at the Los Angeles Mission. So I was really happy to see that, because
that's awesome.
At least it was something else than all of the material items that are shown on all of those videos. But that was nice.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, some positivity to it. And I kind of want to piggyback on that if I could real quick, just because I'm just, slamming, hip hop and a lot of artists out there that are putting out garbage. At the same time, someone that comes to mind for me is Lecrae, and Lecrae is, he's a great artist, and he talks about positivity, and there's a lot of positive, and he's been through some stuff, and he's spreading positivity. He's not spreading negativity, And so there is artists out there too. And I think that goes to a good point, even if we kind of encompass this whole conversation up about all of the different things. We've talked about some negative things. We've talked about some positive things. And when we're surrounding ourselves with positivity, with good people, with people that bring us up and don't knock us down, and with positive communities and music and art and all those types of things that we feel fulfilled by, that's when we really thrive as people. And so I just want to encourage those out there. I know you might be going through some shit right now, but there's people that love you. There's people that care about you. There's people like Joelle out there who are at Hazelton Betty Ford who can help. There's people like me out there that are doing podcasts. There's other podcasters, communities, there's groups, all kinds of stuff. And just know that, there's hope out there. I just want to spread that a little bit, because I think it's so important,
Yeah, it is. And, even if, for example, we have an 800 number, it's actually 866, but we have a number that anyone can call and ask for help. They can talk to someone. They don't need to commit to anything, even if they want a referral we don't treat eating disorders, and we're not a primary mental health facility. We treat mental health and substance use disorder together. But we work with only ethical programs. So if anyone needs a referral out there, please call us. Even if you don't want to come to us, please call us, because you will get a referral that is safe, and you'll be out of harm's way, and it is a reputable program. So actually, I'm going to give that number out.
Yeah, please do.
It's 866-278-3638. So that's 866-278-3638. And they also have a Facebook page where they post daily inspirations and just interesting articles. So our Facebook is at Betty Ford Center West LA, and then our Twitter is at Hazelden Betty Ford. So those are, just again, surround yourself with good people who are there to help you, not to bring you down.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And I like that you pointed that out. For those out there listening, if you need a resource, it's a legit resource. And I'm going to give that number out one more time. It's 1-866-278-3638. I'll put it in the show notes in case you're driving out there or you don't have a second to write it down. It'll be in the show notes. You can come back and check it out there. Joelle, it's been really, really awesome to talk to you. I learned a lot today. I hope those out there listening took some things away from this conversation.
But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed speaking with you, and thank you for everything you're doing. It's so important to get the word out there, and as many people who are listening to your podcast, and it's really a huge way of being of service.
If you need any more information, you can go to thatsoberguy.com. There's resources, plenty of other podcasts on there. Peace, love, respect to keep your blood clean.